What's up, Dolphins fans? We have not so good injury news heading into our season opener on Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts. This is Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Nick Roloff, and the injury news revolves around tight end Darren Waller and James Daniels, the projected starting right guard for this football team. Before we get into the injury news, hit that thumbs up icon, like the video if you want the Dolphins to start 1-0 and take down the Indianapolis Colts this upcoming Sunday. All right, let's get right into the news here because Mike McDaniel spoke to Dolphins media earlier this morning, revealed a lot around injuries surrounding some key players like Darren Waller, and we'll get into some updates on Achane and Tyreek Hill later on. But Waller obviously didn't really practice, started the training camp portion of the offseason and training camp on the PUP list, gets activated before the final week of the preseason. Many people wondered, hey, is he going to participate in joint practices with the Jags? He doesn't play in that game. And if we're going to be honest, he really hasn't participated in any practices since. And he didn't participate on Wednesday. McDaniels told media that that was a scheduled maintenance day, if you will, but then was a DNP on Thursday with a hip injury and was listed probably questionable for Sunday. Well, apparently, according to McDaniel, Darren Waller had a surprise setback before practice this week, suffering a hip strain, and he is unlikely to play Sunday versus the Colts. So no Darren Waller on Sunday. And if I'll be honest, and if you've watched this channel over the last month, ever since they really made that Darren Waller trade, I have consistently pounded the table saying that the Dolphins should still look to add another legit tight end. I do not think Darren Waller, I did not think Darren Waller would be able to really be productive for Miami this season. He didn't play football last year. He was retired. And you're trying to bring him out of retirement and have him be a key contributor on your offense as that starting tight end. I just had my doubts. This is a guy that has had a lot of injuries in the past, has been on and off the field consistently throughout his career. And yes, the highs with Darren Waller are extremely, extremely high. But the lows with Darren Waller are really, really low, and it feels like Miami is feeling that right now. I mean, we might have a Will Fuller, Odell Beckham Jr. 3.0 on our hands. I don't know if Darren Waller ever plays a game of football for the Miami Dolphins. I really mean that. There is a legit chance he doesn't ever play. And I said that on a video over the past couple of days. I just have zero confidence in ever seeing him on a Dolphins football field, if I'll be honest. Until I see it, it's going to be hard for me to believe it. But him being inactive tells me a little bit of a different story as well. And is Miami going to go into this game on Sunday with only 2 tight ends on the active roster? It's hard for me to fathom that. Now, Miami has Tanner Conner and Julian Hill as its 2 tight ends. The worst tight end room in the NFL, by the way. I've been saying that for a while, even with Darren Waller. And with how important the tight end position is in terms of just blocking, it's not really that key receiving. The last year with Jonnu Smith was the first year that Miami really utilized the tight end in the receiving game under Mike McDaniel. But just for the pure blocking standpoint of it, it's hard for me to imagine Miami only having 2 active tight ends. I don't think they've ever had just 2 active tight ends in a game under Mike McDaniel. So you have a couple options. You can elevate someone from the practice squad. We have Greg Dulcich or Hayden Rucci on the P squad. I really like Greg Dulcich a lot. Or you can go out and make a roster move and sign one to the 53-man roster. And the latter seems a lot more likely. Why do I say that? Well, think about this. You only get 2 practice squad elevations each week for a game day. We know one of them is Riley Patterson because the Dolphins don't have a kicker right now, and he is the kicker, just on the practice squad, not the 53-man. And we know Miami is going to need to call up a running back as well because they're not going to go into the first game of the year with just 2 healthy running backs, especially with Achane dealing with a calf injury. Yeah, he's 100%, but or according to his own words, but that's just a little too risky. So if you call up Jeff Wilson, well, then you can't call up Dulcich unless you sign him to the active roster. If I'll be honest, I would just cut Darren Waller. I said this on Twitter, which is why you follow me. I am done with the experiment. I'm sick and tired of it already. Just get rid of him. He's not worth the headache of keeping him on the 53. Because even if he's playing football for the Dolphins on the field, I really don't think he's going to be that good. So to me, I would just cut Darren Waller and sign Greg Dulcich to the 53-man roster. Or if you want to keep Waller around for the year, place him on IR. You can do that with Ethan Bonner, who probably isn't going to play in the next couple of weeks with a hamstring injury. You could also do that with Jalen Wright. The point is, I would expect Miami, if we're going to be honest, to put someone on IR or cut someone, which I doubt it's that one, but put someone IR. Either Waller, Jalen Wright, or Ethan Bonner. They're all likely missing multiple weeks. So just put them on IR, bring them back fully healthy in week 5, and then you could have Greg Dulcich or Jeff Wilson, whatever the one you want, to be signed to the 53-man roster, and then you could have the other one be a practice squad elevation for the first couple weeks of the year. I mean, this is the best way to go about this, if we're going to be completely honest. And if it's going to be a choice, I'd probably choose to sign Greg Dulcich because I would probably like to have him up on the 53-man more than 3 times this year. And you're not going to bring Jeff Wilson up when Jalen Wright's back. So just use your 3 elevations with Jeff Wilson. And then when Jalen Wright returns, well, there you go. You don't have to worry about bringing Jeff Wilson up anymore. So that's kind of how I would address the tight end position if you're asking me. More to come here in just 1 second. But make sure you get started with Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day. And with Prize Picks, you can actually get paid making your picks. And boy, I tell you what, it pays to be right. All you do is just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you could still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks does not hit. I have an entry in for this upcoming Sunday. I have more than Joe Flacco passing yards, more than Demario Douglas receiving yards, and I paired that up with the stat total projection discount, half a yard for Dak Prescott. If you go and look on the app right now, well, I think they have a Lamar Jackson discount as well. So take advantage right there. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, getting back to some injury news for Miami. Now we have to go to the offensive line with James Daniels because he popped up on the injury report Thursday as a limited participant due to an ankle injury. Well, asked about him for this upcoming Sunday, Mike McDaniel said he's likely going to be questionable for that game in week 1. Obviously not ideal. James Daniels, the player, signed a 3-year, $24 million deal with to become that starting right guard for you next to Austin Jackson and Aaron Brewer. Now, it is the ankle opposite of his Achilles. Remember, that is a concern. He's returning from a torn Achilles, but has participated throughout training camp in the preseason. So there is no concern there. And then I will say, if there is a silver lining in him having an ankle injury, at least it's not the one that is really on the same ankle, same foot as the Achilles from last year. Because if he already had some tendons weakened around that Achilles again, boy, oh boy, that could get real dicey real quick. So he's questionable for Sunday. Obviously not ideal if he had to miss the game, which I hope he won't, and I don't think he will. That's me just guessing. We'll see how the injury progresses over the next 48 hours. But the next man up would probably be Daniel Brunskill. I mean, you look at the 4 players that Dolphins have as depth pieces. It's Larry Borum, tackle, Kendall Lamb, tackle, Brunskill, interior offensive lineman, could play center or any guard position, and then Keon Smith, who could play guard or tackle. And based off how Keon Smith looks in the preseason, I would probably choose to go with the veteran Daniel Brunskill over Keon Smith if the Dolphins needed to replace James Daniels at right guard on Sunday. But obviously the hope is that is not something you have to be concerned about. James Daniels is out there playing football for the Dolphins, making his legit debut as the player Miami went out and prioritized in NFL free agency. More coming up here in a second, but make sure you hit that sub button because we will be live on Sunday for week 1, but we also bring you daily content on the Miami Dolphins and have you covered with every single piece of news you need, whether it's on the injury front, roster moves, or any other rumors. Join the channel, and I hope to see you on Sunday for that week 1 live stream. All right, we'll round out the show with some positive news here. McDaniel asked about 2 of the biggest players on Miami, obviously that being Tyreek Hill and Devon Achane. Both are absolutely on track to play Sunday, according to Mike McDaniel. So that's really good. 2 thumbs up there. I don't think there's really any surprise there. Achane said he was 100% earlier this week, and Tyreek Hill basically gave the thumbs up in his media session earlier this week. But it's just nice to have a triple confirmation on 2 of the most dynamic and important pieces of this Dolphins offense that they're going to be out there ready to roll on week 1. Some other good injury news. Elijah Campbell popped up on the injury report Thursday with a knee injury. He's probably going to be fine. He's that fourth safety for Miami. I expect to see him playing on Sunday. I think Dante Trader Jr. is going to be inactive, and the 4 healthy and active safeties Miami will be Minka, Davis, Melifonwu, and Elijah Campbell. Now, I do want to provide a quick update as I'm just going through some updates here on social media that I mentioned Jalen Wright and Ethan Bonner could be put on IR to create a roster spot for Sunday. McDaniel said the Dolphins have not discussed that to this point. When I said it earlier in the video, I did say that is what I would do. I don't know if that's what Miami will do or should do, but that's what, if I was in charge, I would do. I would put one of them on IR in order for me to be able to sign Greg Dulcich or Jeff Wilson to the 53-man roster. D. Eskridge is still in concussion protocol. Hopefully he gets cleared, so he'll be able to play on Sunday, but no guarantee there. And that really is all for the Dolphins updates this early Friday morning. Appreciate everybody watching us on this episode. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter, and we'll have another video out later today and tomorrow, getting you ready for Week 1 action against the Colts on Sunday, where I'm fired up. Hopefully the Dolphins go 1-0, and hopefully I see you there on that live stream. Go Fins.